Usual.
Bet.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Rankum. Today we've got a very big one. We get to talk about Batman's villains. Like, there's a very select few which always get mentioned, and always pop up in the movies, but there's so much more that there's going to be so many different interesting ones that do come up. I've got a great panel of guests with me, and I'm going to go here for the first time. I've got, you may have seen it in Call to Action podcast. It's Alex McFarland. Alex, how are you going?
Hi, so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
And also here I've got recurring guest is Matt Kearns. Matt, how's it going?
Hi, I wasn't originally supposed to be on here, and then yesterday Malcolm was like, "You want to be on Breakup?" And I was like, "Sure." So, Misa back. I'm excited to talk about Batman. I love his Rogues Gallery, so it's gonna be a fun conversation.
And also here I've got Caleb. Caleb, how's it going?
I live here. Hi, guys. I feel like this is great. I've been on like the last 3, so I feel like I deserve a co-billing now. It's Malcolm Lane and Caleb co-host Rankum.
Whoa.
Whoa.
I might rival
it's
you
gonna be
for the
great.
number of appearances on this show, sir.
That's true. I think we're up in the same amount soon. And Cody. But yeah, this is gonna be fun.
And also here he's wearing an incorrect shirt, but it's Robert
Sorry.
Parker. Robert, how's it going?
Honestly, this wasn't even intentional. It's just funny, and now
It was, don't
for irony,
believe
I
him.
have to keep it.
Completely.
For irony, I have to keep it. But I'm happy to be here. Obviously, Batman has not always had the best movies, of course, but this is Batman Villains. I'm a huge fan of the Batman Arkham video game series, so I will be blabbing on about those games for hours on end this evening. No, but for real, I think this one is actually going to be a pretty short list. There's like 10 of them that we should all unanimously be like, yup, and then kind of move on. So I'm excited to see how that goes.
But yes, and how the show works is each go round table style and throw out a villain we think deserves to be in a combined top 12 list, and then at the end we will rank them based on what votes people get. And I'm going to go to Alex first. Alex, what is the first villain you're going to nominate?
Okay. Are we going to be starting with number 1, or do we want to build anticipation and go with number 12?
Start wherever you would
Yeah,
like.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
wait,
you
wait.
nominate one to get on the show's list, and we all go around.
Oh,
and nominate
okay.
Yeah.
one. Yeah. So whichever. It's up to you.
So in that case, I'm going to start out with someone I personally very much enjoy. Very much a favorite. It's the ventriloquist. Now, hear me out. I know a lot of people either really find him annoying or find him like a really like a B or C level villain, and I'm totally okay with that. Thing is, I think he's one of my personal favorite, most enjoyable villains because he is very much a villain I could see happening in real life. So when I see him, whether it be in the animated series, which really weirded me out when I was little, that actually, the ventriloquist was actually the scariest villain to me when I was little, when I was watching the animated series growing up. But also I think it's, I feel like, especially right now, a lot of people have a hard time talking to people. And so sometimes they're more comfortable chatting with people like via online or through other ways. And therefore something like this, it's like a different version of it. It feels like almost something that could be real. Like in that case, I feel like it's definitely one of the more realistic villains that we could have as a ventriloquist, and therefore to me it's one of the more terrifying versions of a villain.
Matt, what do you say about the ventriloquist?
Every time there's this terrible ones, but Marco's gonna go to me first. I like the ventriloquist, but he's never been that scary to me.
That's fine, and that's totally fine. Again, he was the scariest villain to me on the animated series, and the Joker, he never scared me all that much.
Wow.
So it's completely, I guess it's just, to me, ventriloquist always seemed more realistic as a villain, versus Joker always seemed like too real to be like a real villain. And to happen in real life.
He is a good villain. I'm gonna say no, but if he gets on the list, I won't be upset.
Caleb, what do you say about the ventriloquist?
Okay, so when I made my list, the ventriloquist and Scarface was like really low on my list, like really low.
He is on he's on the lower end of my list. He is.
But the way Alex sold it, I legit think he belongs on the list. So I'm gonna actually say yes to ventriloquist and Scarface.
My man, Caleb.
Robert, what do you say about the ventriloquist?
Yeah, there's a lot of more mainstays. This is definitely one of the more outlier picks. And of those outlier picks, this is not one of the ones that I am going to be able to say yes to. So I do like, and I like how you were talking about how it's more relevant to today's society and all that kind of stuff. And I agree with you. I just can't quite say yes for this one.
I will survive.
But
I promise I won't cry at the end of this on camera.
but which does mean it's down to me. This was a tough one because like I do like the ventriloquist, and the reason it was a tough one was because I didn't know whether to include both of them as a separate villain because I think they are considered probably one and the same, like ventriloquist Scarface, because you never really see them apart from each other. But this is an interesting one, and I'm actually going to say yes to it because I do find it an interesting villain, and it's actually one I'll probably like to see in an upcoming movie too. Because who knows, you can take it lots of places. I'm going to go to Matt. Matt, what is the first villain you're going to nominate?
All right. So the first one I'm going to nominate, it's probably not on anyone else's list. But when I sat there, I started to think about who is Batman's greatest villain. You know who I'm nominating first? I'm nominating himself. Bruce Wayne is his own worst enemy. He blames himself for the death of his parents. Anytime something bad happens in Gotham and he didn't stop it, he blames himself. He sits night at home thinking about how great his life would have been if he just didn't want to go to the movies. Bruce Wayne, Batman, is his own worst enemy and one of his best villains because he's a villain to himself. So that's my first pick, is Batman. Bruce Wayne is his...
I was wondering if that was going to be a joke, but apparently not.
No, this is serious.
Yeah, I'm going to say no. What do you say about Bruce Wayne?
No. Like yes, he blames himself, but also that doesn't make him a villain. You would have been better off going with Joel Schumacher. Like, if you're gonna go for a main pick.
You know what?
If we're going main picks, let's go Joel Schumacher or the 1990s. But like, I got
the 90s was the real villain of comics.
Caleb, what do you say?
Hey, remember when we said the show wasn't gonna go over 2 hours? Yeah, this is not getting on the list. Bye.
It doesn't make the list. Alex, what would you have said?
I really like the idea of it. I can totally understand this whole idea that sure, you can honestly argue that everyone is their own greatest enemy, you know? Everyone is their own worst critic, so I can understand that thought process behind it, and I can appreciate it, but that's fucking stupid at the same time.
Retweet.
So get your shit together.
Retweet.
Fucking love it.
Okay.
That was great.
Anyway, Caleb, what is your next one?
My biggest debate is whether or not I go for the easy one or the easy one, and I'm gonna go with the easy one. I'm gonna pick the Riddler. The Riddler is probably my all-time favorite Batman villain, just because Batman is a physically imposing character. The Riddler is probably the one villain that is not physically imposing and is more a match for Batman's intellect, and that is why I think the Riddler is more interesting in terms of like whenever they square off. It's always a battle of riddles, of mind games, and on that sort of level, which is why I would have always loved to have seen the Riddler be the main villain of a film, which is why I do love him in Batman Forever. I love Jim Carrey's version, but Robert Leaf. But yeah, Riddler's my all-time favorite, and he's up on the table.
I would like to watch Gotham with you. Not gonna lie.
I've only watched the first season, so
That's fair.
riddle me this: who's afraid of the big black bat? The Riddler is definitely a big yes for me. I do like him, and I really do. I'll probably love the Gotham version more than the Jim Carrey's version because I can't remember the actor's name now, but he just brings a different sort of take, and it's more in line with the Arkham series type of Riddler, which like that more dark tone in the Gotham, which does put an interesting spin on it. Robert, what do you say about the Riddler?
Hard yes for me. Again, we got to go away from the live action movies a little bit and just delve into the character itself, and absolutely hit the nail on the head. If we're talking like the Arkham video games, the most annoying villain, because I don't want to spend 16 hours running around picking up trophies, but also, it's worthwhile at the end of it. So yeah, hard yes for Riddler for sure.
And thank you, ZS Smith in the chat. He provided me the answer. It's Corey Michael Smith that played Enigma in. I don't know if it's the same one, but Alex, what would you have said about the Riddler?
I agree with you, Caleb. The Riddler, Jim Carrey was definitely a personal guilty pleasure. He's probably one of the only parts I actually like about Joel Schumacher's movie. Anyway, but I disagree with you in terms of one of the only people to match him intellectually, because I can name like 4 other characters on my list personally that does match him intellectually. So I will fight with you on that to the death. But I agree with you. He's definitely a personal favorite. He definitely is most creative as well as villains. And I feel like he doesn't get enough credit as a villain to he always keeps Batman on edge versus a lot of other characters that don't, if that makes sense.
And Matt, what would you have said about the Riddler?
I would have said yes. He's definitely one of my favorites.
But with that, Riddler makes the list. Robert, it's back to you for your first nomination.
Okay. This is tough. I am going to go with what I think live action, the most consistent Batman villain we've gotten is Scarecrow. I think Cillian Murphy in Nolan's trilogy as Scarecrow is great. If we want to look even further into Scarecrow, you look into the Arkham video games, he's always one of the best parts. He's the main villain of Arkham Knight. I think Scarecrow, if we're talking psychological villains that don't necessarily have that physical component, Scarecrow is by far number 1 on the list. Maybe not the smartest, but the most intimidating, the most fearful, because everybody is afraid of something. And you put yourself in that situation when you're watching these movies and when you're thinking about these characters, like what would his fear toxin make you see? In Batman Begins, he just nails it out of the park with that movie. The way he controls Carmine Falcone and the way he works for Ra's al Ghul. So Scarecrow is up on the table for me.
Scarecrow's on the table. Alex, what do you say about the Scarecrow?
I love him. He's one of my favorite villains of all time, personally. Also, just adding to that, I really loved the Batman Beyond adaptation of Scarecrow as well. Visually, he's also one of the most distinctive villains as well. So, yeah, I love him. Can't say more about it.
Matt, what do you say about Scarecrow?
I'll say yes to Scarecrow. I think he's an interesting. I'm not super big on Killian. Like, I think he's great in Batman Begins. I feel like his cameos in the other 2 they're great, but I like him more in like the animated series. That's the Scarecrow I like. And was it Rob? You said it was Arkham Knight, right?
Arkham Knight is he's in Arkham Asylum.
Yeah, but he's the main villain.
He's the main villain in
right?
Arkham Knight. Yeah.
I like him in Arkham Knight, especially. I love the bit when he makes you relive the night. Like, I just think that's like a really great kind of plan to just like fuck with Batman. So yeah, I'll say yes.
Caleb, what would you have said about Scarecrow?
Yeah, here's my number 11. So I would have put him on. So
11?
I have a little bit lower, but I like him.
Yeah, it would have been
Not my guy,
it would have been an easy yes for me as well. Scarecrow is definitely an interesting villain, and he's he's also one of my least favorite levels in the Arkham games, just because it's really annoying.
I'm so impatient. I can't. I'm too impatient for his levels.
I haven't played those games in a while.
But anyway, it's back to me. I'm going to leave the super obvious pick for now, and I'm going to go for a different
Super obvious pick.
one, but I'm going to go for Calendar Man. For me, this is a very interesting villain, which is that is in there. And it's like, which other villain do you think would sort of go out and do lots of crimes on specific dates of the year just to be creative? I've got a feeling I know what's going to happen with this one, but this is one that I've always found interesting, and I always found visiting him at certain times of the year. Is in the Arkham games, you get lots of nice treats. But Alex, what do you say about Calendar Man?
Dude, I love Calendar Man. I do. I love him so much. He reminds me so much of, like, especially in The Long Halloween, there's like that moment between Batman and Calendar Man where they have this like Hannibal Lecter situation going on, which I appreciate. And also he's not so much like the most visual villain, but at the same time, he's definitely one of the weirdest ones that we've had, period. He's like one of the weirdest just characters in general. And what I like about it, not only that, is just because it's one of the few times where the writers and the illustrators where they clearly had fun putting together this character, because he doesn't look particularly scary, but at the same time, he is just so annoying and ridiculous and stupid and fun at the same time. And I appreciate that. You can't, not everyone can be a Joker or a Deathstroke. You got to put in the weird people in there too, which I like. So yes.
Matt, what do you say about Calendar Man?
I really do like The Long Halloween. It's a great graphic novel. Calendar Man he's really great in that great graphic novel, The Long Halloween, but not on my top 12 list by any means.
Shut your whore mouth, Matthew. Shut up. No. I will defend this one. I will defend this one.
Okay.
Is the save rule still a thing?
Nope. We got rid of it.
I probably shouldn't be like so. I probably shouldn't say that. That's probably...
no. When Cody Newberry's on, he says like 3 times worse than that to Matt on a daily basis.
So. But it's also better when he says it
up all the time. And I'm still kind of iffy on whether or not we mean it sometimes. So. But I'm saying I don't actually mean it when I say shut your whore mouth. I just want to make that
clear. Caleb, what do you say about Calendar Man?
A for effort, Malcolm, but that's a no. Yeah, not for top 12, top 25, maybe. Not top 12. Sorry.
And Robert, what do you say about Calendar Man?
Yeah, I'm with Caleb. Top 20 for Long Halloween for sure, but like of the like great rogues gallery that Batman has, is he top 12 of all of those? He's just not. So it's got to be a no for me as well.
And anyway, it circles back to Alex. Alex, what's the next nomination?
I kind of want to go something with a little weird. In honor of putting this together, I was rereading some of my old favorites, and so I wanted to go with Talon of the Court of Owls. Okay, so hear me out. It's a weird one. I love the Court of Owls storyline. It's not only just because, I love history. I love learning and reading about history, but especially when the Court of Owls is just such a society so rooted in Gotham culture. And they've been on the underlying society for so long, you know, I mean, I don't even know how long, it's like centuries. And, you know, Talon is really one of their most recent soldiers per se. And not only that, he's almost like a counteraction of Batman, of what could have happened if, you know, Alfred wasn't there to really bring him in as an orphan. You know, if he didn't have Alfred there to be like, hey, I'm still going to treat you awesome. I'm going to treat you like my own. At the same time, I'm going to help you through this whole process, through your own form of grief. If Bruce Wayne was taken in by another group of people, you know, another group of much more menacing individuals, who knows? Bruce Wayne could have ended up as this Talon character. So I really like this almost sense of duality between not only Batman and Talon. You know, it's almost like it's very similar to like a White Knight situation as well, which I appreciate. But also it's like one of the, especially visually, the Court of Owls storyline, it has one of the most beautiful illustrations. It's one of the only times where you really kind of see on the page Batman really freaking out. He's confused. He's not sure what to do. At that moment, he's not fully Batman. He's kind of freaking out, and he's really questioning his abilities, you know, through this whole process, not only against Talon one-on-one, but when he's facing Court of Owls altogether, because when he's process of trying to defeat Court of Owls, he's trying to defeat the higher levels of Gotham and its culture of crime as well. So it's also very much, like mentioned, it's more of a symbolic character, not just fighting villainous character.
Yeah, so Talon from the Court of Owls is on the table. Sadly, I'm going to say no to this just because I really don't remember the character that much. I can't pick him out of the Court of Owls myself, but I mean, that's why...
He was an orphan that was taken in by the Court of Owls to be a soldier, and he was trained, and he ended up becoming a politician in Gotham City. I think he ended up becoming a mayor, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Oh. But I'm not the only one on the panel, but so Robert, what do you say about Talon from the Court of Owls?
Yeah, again, there is 9 spots left. 9, and we have probably 15 like more iconic, more well-known, more renowned, and in my opinion better Batman villains. So while I like the pick and it's good to talk about it for sure, to bring it up on this kind of show, I do have to say no to that
one. Caleb, what do you say about Talon?
Talon's a interesting pick, but for top 12 all-time best Batman villains, I can't say yes to Talon. So yeah.
And with that, Talon doesn't make it on. But Matt, what would you have said?
I really love Court of Owls, but my thought process was with Robin Caleb. I think he's great, but I don't think he's top 12.
But anyway, it goes back to Matt. Matt, what is the next pick you're going to bring up?
So my next pick, I'm going to bring up, so when I was doing my list, I kind of didn't just look at comics, I looked at the movies as well, of course. This one is one of my favorites, not really because of his comics, but in the movies. I'm going with Ra's al Ghul. I think in the comics he's great, but it really is Liam Neeson in Batman Begins. I think he's such a great villain. And I love the fact of how this is the guy who trained Bruce Wayne, and that was his star pupil. And a lot of the great things about Batman came from this guy, so there's that really interesting thing. And then also I love the fact that like he thinks what he's doing is justified, that the League of Shadows is doing exactly what Bruce Wayne wants to do. Like we just want to get rid of evil, but while doing that, he's being super evil. And I love villains like that. So Ra's al Ghul is my next nomination.
Ra's al Ghul doesn't really matter how you pronounce it. I've never really known how it's properly pronounced.
In the movies, it's called Raz, but I think it's supposed to be Raish.
Yeah, but I think it was Arrow which they pronounced it Ra's al Ghul. I'm pretty sure. But Caleb,
what do you, as well.
Caleb, what do you say about racial Ra's al Ghul?
I don't like Ra's al Ghul. I don't find him interesting. I don't find him compelling in any sort of way, not in any version. The best attempt at him is Batman Begins. and that's the only one that kind of lands. I'm gonna give Ra's al Ghul a no. I don't like Ra's al
Okay.
Ghul.
Robert, what do you say about Ra's al Ghul?
This is really, really, really difficult of a decision for me because I do really like Ra's al Ghul, especially Liam Neeson. Liam Neeson in Batman Begins is there's a reason it's my favorite comic book movie of all time. Yeah, he's incredible in that movie. And then if you're looking like Batman Arkham City, he's a very memorable villain. Like Batman walks up to Talia and is like, "Hey, where's your father? If he's dead, I need you to wake him up." Like,
Oh, when
it's
he
just
falls
like-
on the spikes, it's like,
Yeah.
how's he doing? Nothing a trip to Lazarus Pit can't do.
Exactly. Like the whole thing with the Lazarus Pit is really memorable. How he is, thousands and thousands of years old. It's a different direction than the movie version of him takes, but it's still a memorable version. I think I'm gonna go yes for this one. Purely for Liam Neeson and also Batman Arkham City. I gotta go yes.
Don't worry, Rob. That was my line of thought of like he's one because of those two things.
Alex, what do you say about Ra's al Ghul?
Honestly, no. I honestly disagree with you guys in terms of Liam Neeson. I don't think he was being Ra's al Ghul. I really don't. I think he was a really great villain for that movie, but he was not Ra's. If he was, to me, but regardless, I'm not a huge fan of. I love Liam Neeson. I love him in other movies. I loved him in that movie, but to me, he wasn't Ra's al Ghul. He was just a really good trainer, and he did a lot of really cool things. But yeah, that wasn't him. I preferred him I do like him in other adaptations, but what kind of makes him not as a amazing villain to me is that I like his character more behind the scenes. I like him knowing that he's like this way over there. And when him and Batman actually do interact, it's not very particularly interesting. I'm actually more interested in his daughter Talia. What the fuck's going on with that? What's going on with Damien? I'm more interested in that storyline rather than Ra's. So, I mean, that's just me though. So that's just a no for me.
So it's down to me to be the tiebreaker. Because this is difficult because I do like Ra's as a villain. But to me, he's always been that one that usually hides behind his assassins quite a lot as well. So I'm leaning slightly to a no, but it would if it was top 15, it would have been very, very close to possibly being a yes. Sir. Caleb, it's back to you.
All right, then I think we've danced around this character long enough. I think it's time to introduce the Joker. The Joker's not just the best Batman villain of all time. I think he's the best villain in literary history. I think the duality between Batman and the Joker is so iconic, so classic, and so kind of just perfect. And it's the reason why we keep going back to the Joker in The Dark Knight, in '89's Batman, in every iteration, because he's infinitely interesting, especially in relation to his interactions with Batman. So yeah, the Joker's on the table.
Yes, Robert.
Yeah, the great thing about this character is that for film specifically, every single actor who has taken on this role has brought something completely different to the character. Every single one, from Cesar Romero, Jack Nicholson, Mark Hamill, even to whether you like him or hate him in Suicide Squad, like it is a unique take on the character. Zach Galifianakis in Lego Batman, like each take on this character is unique for a character that has been around for however many decades. They still find ways to reinvent this character. Even Heath Ledger, Jared Leto, each Joker is different. It's not the same Joker every single time. And of course, you throw in the Arkham video games too, because I'm obsessed with them. Of course, like duh. I'm glad we got this one out of the way.
But yeah, and with that, Joker does make the list. But Alex, what would you have said about Joker?
Yeah, duh. I mean, All the other, absolutely, I completely agree with you in terms of there's 100 million ways to interpret the Joker, and I really enjoy them. I'm really hoping that there's going to be some newer versions of the Joker based on the comics, especially the one where he comes out of retirement because Batman retires. I really love that one. So I'm hoping one day we'll see it. But especially, I mean, just Mark Hamill's Batman, Mark Hamill's Joker in particular. I mean, you can't beat it. I mean, it's iconic, like you said. I don't know about it being like one of the best villains in literature or in pop culture.
Yeah, that's a hot take.
Yeah, that's a hot take for sure. I can understand the approach, but in terms of comics, it would definitely be in the conversation for sure.
And Matt, what would you have said about the Joker?
Yeah, definitely would have said yes. Joker's great. I think it is interesting that out of all the villains, he's probably had the most extreme differences. Like Cesar Romero and Heath Ledger are nothing alike, and that's really cool. But they're both great, and they're both great for different reasons. And I think that's the really cool thing about that character. Is in the same way Batman has been really great and very fluid, to where you can have Adam West and Michael Keaton or something. I think it's really cool that Joker is kind of the same way. But yeah, I would say yes, of course.
And it's definitely going to be interesting to see what Joaquin Phoenix brings to the
role. It's going to be interesting.
But Robert, it's back to you.
Okay, we're gonna go with. This is a character I really like, especially from the Arkham video games. And while his history in film hasn't been the best, there's still been good iterations, and that's Bane. Bane is a character who physically, by far, is Batman's greatest adversary. He also is one of the few to figure out Batman's secret identity, which I think is worth noting. He is somebody who, they don't really delve into this as much in the movies, but like he's a character who's just as dangerous. Like he's got a genius intellect, just as dangerous in a game of chess as he is in like an arm wrestling match. He like broke Batman's back. That's a whole great story. Tom Hardy's incantation, while not comics accurate, is still really good. We'll not talk about the 97 version, but his role in the Arkham video games is really great, and I would love to see a movie where we get more of a Bane story where he doesn't get addicted to the venom until like halfway through the movie and then becomes this big hulking monster. But I think Bane has to be on this list. It's a mainstay in Batman's filmography for sure.
Yeah. Alex, what do you say about Bane?
You mean that one guy that's like the sidekick to Poison Ivy, right?
Yeah, him, Jeep Swenson.
That's what he does. He's Poison Ivy's sidekick, totally. Yeah, I mean, completely. I'm really hoping that next time we do have an iteration of Bane, they really go into his addiction, but also go into his intellect a lot more. Because, like you said, he's surprisingly one of the few villains that has really deducted that Bruce Wayne and Batman are the same people. Woo! So I'm really hoping that he is very much a mastermind that people underestimate. So yeah, I agree totally.
Yeah, it's back to me, and I think I'm going to give Ben a yes.
Oh, I see what you're doing.
But Matt, what do you say about Bane?
Yeah, I really like Bane. I like the fact that he can physically match Batman while also intellectually match Batman. I think that's cool because the thing about Batman's rogue gallery is sometimes you have to pick and choose. Like they could be like the Riddler in most iterations can intellectually best Batman, but in a physical altercation, Batman kicks his ass really fast. Minus Batman and Robin, his film depictions. Like I really do like Tom Hardy. My favorite Bane is still the Nightfall from the comics. I love that storyline. But he's also great in the Arkham games, just because, like Rob, I like talking about those games a lot. Even in the little side mission in Arkham City where you're helping him.
Oh my god, yeah.
Oh my god, it's great. He's and I love him in Injustice too. I think he's also great in the Injustice games. So yeah. Yeah, Bane gets a yes.
And with that, Bane does make the list. Caleb, what would you have said?
The Fire Rises. Yeah, Bane would make the list. I think he's great in Dark Knight Rises. I think he's great in the comics. Yeah, there's not much to add. Bane.
But it's back to me, and I'm going to go for a interesting pick for a villain, and this one I do enjoy in the comics. He may have had a pretty poor version in the movies, but I'm going to go for the ice villain, Mr. Freeze. I do think that this villain is a very interesting one, in which he's one of those ones which some people may not see him so much as a villain, just someone who kind of went that way just because he was trying to find a way to cure his wife who got frozen in that. So in that way, he's not a villain, but like he still has gone up against Batman so much that and he's even found ways, especially in the games, which he would trick Batman into helping him, just to sort of turn against him when it counted. But Robert, what would you say about Mr. Freeze?
Yeah, definitely. And people can rag on Schwarzenegger all they want. That was he was fit in with the movie he was put in. But ultimately, you know, that version of the character wasn't great. But Batman Mr. Freeze Sub-Zero, the animated movie, real good. I actually really like that movie. And of course, you kind of mentioned it. You alluded to it. Batman Arkham City. He's the best boss fight in that movie. He is your ally and then suddenly is not. He has a great arc in that movie. And yeah, he is a villain that you really understand, and he's relatable and he's understandable because he's just fighting for the person he loves, and that's admirable. So yeah.
And Caleb, what do you say about Mr. Freeze?
Absolutely. Mr. Freeze is probably the most tragic Batman villain. You really feel for him. I mean, if you look at Heart of Ice from the animated series, it's one of the best episodes of the show because it makes Mr. Freeze the most relatable, like tragic, like you kind of want Mr. Freeze to win kind of villain. So yeah, Mr. Freeze.
And so if that Mr. Freeze makes on the list, Matt, what would you have said?
Yeah, I'm with Rob. I actually like Arnold, but you guys know I just like Arnold in general. But like for the silly movie he was in, he fit in perfectly. I still love anytime anyone says they're watching Batman Robin, the first thing I do is go, cool party. But beyond that, Cal brought it up. Heart of Ice is top 5 episodes for me, and he's such an interesting villain because you're like, I really, really feel bad for you. But you're going just a couple of steps too far. And I think those are the really great villains to where you completely understand their motive. And his motive to try to save his wife is great. But he just takes those couple of steps where it's like, I can't support you 100%. And even in, the animated series, Sub-Zero, that movie, I also like that movie a lot. Yeah, he's a great villain all around, even with Schwarzenegger's one-liners.
And Alex, what would you have said about Mr. Freeze?
I agree with y'all guys. 110%. He's a delight. He is probably, I don't like to describe him as romantic, but he's definitely one of the most lovelorn characters we've seen from, not only villain-wise, but in general. But yeah, I mean, like you guys said, I mean, he's literally just a guy trying to save his wife under any circumstances. And unfortunately, that happens to go through some really bad stuff. And you can argue to a certain extent, he's more of an anti-hero than a hero because he's not actively trying to do anything evil. He's just literally trying to do what it takes in order to, whenever we have his character, it's just a conversation about does means justify the end. So, I mean, and in his case, I mean, sure, it's definitely that's a pretty deep question, but I don't know if I can blame him considering who knows what. I mean, if each of us were in that situation, what we'd actually do. So I don't want to say he's a realistic villain, but at the same time, he's definitely a villain that we can all empathize and see ourselves in to a certain extent.
Yeah. Anyway, it's back to you, Alex. Alex, what's the next villain you're going to bring up?
I want to go with a fun one. Someone I really enjoy is a little villain known as Clayface. I love Clayface so much. He's definitely not only one of the most visually interesting villains, but also he's one of the very few villains that's actually been very similar to Bane. He's one of the very few villains where he's like one of the closest people to kill Batman. So you can definitely see he's definitely one of not only physically one of his strongest adversaries. He's not the most he's not like super intellectual like like the Riddler or anything, but he's definitely, he's had a very difficult situation, how he became, Clayface as an actor and the different iterations and everything being in different experiments and everything resulted in it. But he's also, it's very much a psychological character as well, because he's trying to just find a sense of normalcy, and he just wants to be happy and normal and have a family, but at the same time, depending on which version you get, but at the same time, he can't because of what he is. And he just, in order to have a family, that means killing someone or whatever it may be. And so that means, Batman has to come in and stop that shit right up quick. So I can understand from Batman's point of view why he has to stop. At the same time, Clayface, he's just trying to get by looking the way he does, as a big pile of clay that can manipulate into anyone, essentially. He's Mystique. He's Mystique, essentially. A different version of Mystique.
Yeah. I mean, like, he's one that I would probably say is probably more similar to Sandman in a way. Like, he's pretty much Sandman, but if Sandman got wet, so in the shape. But yeah, Matt, what would you say about Clayface?
I like Clayface a lot. He's on my top 12 list. He's not super high, but he's definitely one of my favorites, mostly because of the animated series.
Yeah, he was my number 9.
But Caleb, what do you say about Clayface?
I guess I like Clayface more than everyone, because he's my number 7. I think he's a super tragic villain in a lot of iterations. My favorite iteration is the one from the Batman animated series.
Thank you!
Where he is Bruce Wayne's friend on the police force who gets tortured into becoming Clayface. I think that's the best origin of Clayface ever.
Yes.
So if we're picking any version, Clayface is on this list for me. So yes.
And you can't forget the version from Batman Beyond.
True.
Or he is a pretty much an experiment.
Yeah, Clayface is definitely one of those interesting villains that you don't know who he is or where he is at any one time. So, and I mean, it's definitely going to be yes for me for that reasons, for the fact that, like, if he's on a chase from Batman, like, he can blend into the crowd very easily, and come up behind Batman at any one time. Robert, what would you have said about Clayface?
I'm going to go back to talking about Batman Arkham City because it's what I like to do, and he's the most important part of that movie. If we're talking about the story of those 3 games, the 3 main ones made by Rocksteady, the storyline of those 3 games, Arkham Asylum, City, Night, he is the most important villain in the arc. Like, the most integral to the story. His stuff in City is really good. That fight's good. He's a good villain. On my list, yes.
But anyway, it's back to Matt. Matt, who are you going to bring up?
So I'm going to bring up my own personal favorite Batman villain, which is Two-Face. I love Two-Face. I think he's a really interesting Batman villain. I like the depictions when he's friends with Bruce Wayne before he becomes Two-Face, because then Batman has this real problem of when he's fighting, he's fighting Harvey. He's fighting his friend, the DA. I think they didn't really totally get that in Dark Knight, but I still liked Aaron Eckhart's depiction. But in the comics and the animated series, I think he's great. I even, as you guys saw in Second Look, I don't hate Tommy Lee Jones. Like, he's not amazing, but for what we got, I think he's pretty good. And I just think that interesting thing of he was Bruce Wayne's friend before, and so now it's like fighting his friend. It's great, and also I like the fact that he has his own code of ethics with the coin, and so there is still that little bit of the district attorney in him. So yeah, Two-Face.
Caleb, what do you say about Two-Face?
Yeah, no, this is on the list, 100%. Whether it be the Harvey Dent friend that saves away night and then gets corrupted into becoming Two-Face, it's one of the best Batman arcs of all time. Two-Face is in.
Robert, what do you say about Two-Face?
I think Tommy Lee Jones is absolutely atrocious in Batman Forever. I think he is by far the worst part of that movie. But Aaron Eckhart is incredible. He does not get enough credit in The Dark Knight. Just those last 10 minutes of that movie where he is just like, it's not about the truth. It's not about this. It's about what's fair. And he's like, Batman's like, oh, Joker was just trying to prove that he could bring the best of us down. And Aaron Eckhart just goes,
He chose me.
And he was right. And then he flips the coin, shoots himself. That scene just is amazing.
When he puts it in his own head.
I hate people who say that the ending of that movie does not fit, because they're wrong. But yes, just for the pure iconic Two-Face, absolutely. I can't believe it took us till number 8 to talk about Two-Face.
When he makes Gordon pick who his favorite is, and he keeps pointing the gun until he gets to this thing, he's like, let's see who your favorite is.
Have you ever talked to somebody you love and lied to them? Like, oh god,
Aaron, I had to. Which, by the way, bullshit. She talked to you, Harvey. You didn't talk to her. You were trying to. So it's part of that line. I'm always like, you fucker. You didn't talk to Rachel. She talked to you down.
Alex, what would you have said about Two-Face?
I mean, there's nothing more to be said. I do a little bit disagree on the ending of The Dark Knight, just because I agree. I mean, Two-Face, he's such a fantastic villain in it, with the Joker, and I wish that we had a third movie with more of him as the dominant villain rather than Joker. So, like I mentioned, I kind of disagree with you on the ending of that movie. But agree. I mean, he's such a great villain. That's all. I mean, he's fantastic.
Yeah.
He's visually wonderful. I mean, he's definitely one of my. We have in my living room. We literally have a handful of comics that are with him on the cover that are framed. So he's definitely one of those interesting visually for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, I can't argue about interesting visually villain. I actually would have gone no for Two-Face. I do like him. He's just out of my top 12 and no more. But
really,
hot take.
But Caleb, it's back to you for your next nomination.
Caleb,
sorry.
He's mulling it over.
That's my bad. My next pick is going to be Hush. I think he's definitely probably one of the younger villains in Batman's entire pantheon, but his impact cannot be understated. He is a phenomenal antagonist that delves back to Batman's history. Tommy Elliott is the ultimate threat that actually does a really good job of destroying Batman in the present. As a figure from the past, and I think he does a really great job. The entire Hush arc is phenomenal, and he does stick around after and still cause additional damage. I'm putting Hush on the table.
Hush is on the table. Alex, what do you say about Hush?
I agree. He's definitely one of my top 15 villains. He was actually my number 11. So I was definitely actually going to bring him up, but he's definitely one of the philosophical villains I think was very much missing from this list. So I'm glad you added him
in. Matt, what do you say about Hush?
I like Hush a lot, so I'll say yes. I'm not sure how high he's going to rank for me, but I'll say yes for top 12. I like it a lot.
And if that Hush does make the list, Robert, what would you have said about Hush?
I also would have said yes. If we're talking Arkham games, he's one of the few one of Batman's villains who's just like straight up a serial killer. Like there a lot of Batman's villains are like these big sort of characters, like your Banes, your Jokers, like they just do it because it's like for whatever reason, Joker just wants to see the world burn, whatever. But you're talking people who are just like sadistic murderers and just psychotic. Like Hush is one of them, and he almost kills Lucius Fox in Batman Arkham Knight. So yeah, Hush is on my list as well.
And I believe Hush is the next animated movie that they're doing.
Yeah, they've talked about it. They've talked about it a lot.
By
I mean,
golly,
they released
No, I
a
think it's
trailer.
coming out.
Yeah,
Oh, was there a trailer? I must have missed it.
but
Rob's like, I'm not gonna watch the trailer during the next nomination.
but anyway, Hush would have been a yes for me as well. Like, he's definitely a very interesting villain, and just one of those ones which it's he's the low key one that not a lot of people actually talk about, and I really hope they bring some of those into prominence in the next Batman movie. But yeah, Robert, what is the next nomination? There's only 3 spots remaining.
Okay, so first off, there's only 3 spots remaining. We have to be serious about which villains should really be on here and which shouldn't. And Penguin should be on here. One of Batman's oldest, one of his most iconic, one of the ones who isn't necessarily intellectually or physically, but is a crime boss, which, if we're going to have a crime boss, you got to go Penguin or Black Mask, and I'm picking Penguin. You have to take that area of Batman's iconography, and it has to be Penguin, all the way back from Burgess Meredith up to Nolan North's voicing in the Arkham series, which is really great. Penguin. Even though, and Danny DeVito is playing a weird Tim Burton creation, but also Danny DeVito is still really good in Batman Returns. So Penguin, I really hope that we can get Penguin.
Yeah, and I mean our very own Chris Clark does a good job of playing the Penguin as well.
That's actually true. That's not like
the fact you didn't bring him up as one of the best depictions, Rob.
Shit, yeah. I was thought of Nolan North before Chris Clark. You got me.
But I'm going to say yes to Penguin. If not, even if it is for me, there's a lot of great depictions of the Penguin out there. My favorite is probably Robin Lord Taylor from Gotham. His depiction of Penguin is so good. Just I never expected to see one that sort of is that sort of menacing. And even in the final, he starts sort of building out the Penguin figure as well. But Alex, what do you say about Penguin?
I'm not sure, to be honest. Hear me out. On one hand, I want to say yes, because I don't want to say, I have a hard time saying he's like he's the everyman, but because he's not a physical villain. I mean, he's physical villain, but he's not a physical villain. But he proves that you can be a really great villain, but at the same time, you don't have to have the physical aspects of being a top villain. But at the same time, he also proves that you don't need to have the intellectual prowess in order to be a villain. It just shows that you can be an everyman's intellect kind of guy, and still, if you have the right ambition, if you have the right goals, and if you play your cards right and you know how to manipulate people, you can achieve your dreams, kind of thing. On that aspect, I want to say yes. On the other hand, I want to say no, just because he never really comes close to killing anyone. I mean, come on. Robin can kill him. I mean, they just don't, because they don't kill people. I would put, if he's in the top villains, I do have more villains I would prefer over Penguin, to be honest. But if he was in the top, I wouldn't be against it. So I guess yes.
And with that, Penguin makes list. Matt, what would you have said about the Penguin?
Yeah, I would say yes. I love Penguin. I actually think Burgess Meredith is my favorite depiction. I just love that it's so silly, but it's also just like a lot of fun. And he does get some episodes where he is kind of kind of scary
Top-
enough for the 66 series. And I mean, one of the best episodes of that series is when he runs for mayor and Batman runs against him. So yeah, I think Chris Clark would have killed all the members of Take Three here if we didn't say yes to Penguin.
Caleb, what would you have said about the Penguin?
Yeah, as much as I don't like Danny DeVito's depiction, I think Burgess Meredith kills it, and I think you can't do a top 12 Batman list without the Penguin. The Penguin's one of the more understated, less crazy in most depiction version with the Penguin. So yeah, I agree with Robert. We needed a mob boss. That's the one you go with.
But anyway, it's back to me, and it's 2 spots remaining. I'm gonna go with Joker's pudding. I'm gonna go with Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn is definitely one of the most sort of a really recent villain, because she went from the animated series to the comics, and she can be very vicious at times when she wants. She's definitely one that seems more like a psychic as well. But if you get her on her own and away from the Joker, she is proved to be really menacing. But yeah, Harley Quinn's on the table. Robert, what do you say about Harley Quinn?
Okay, so this was a really tough one for me, because I don't think that she operates as well as a Batman villain apart from Joker. I don't think she's as good of an independent villain, where every other villain on this list is more independent. I do really like Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn in Suicide Squad. I really like Tara Strong in the animated series. And I think she's a good villain and an interesting villain. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the movies have next for her. But as top 12 Batman villains, I don't think she's there for me. So I have to say no on this one.
Alex, what do you say about Harley Quinn?
Nope. She's not a villain. She's not a villain. That's the way it is.
Matt, what do you say about Harley Quinn?
I like Harley Quinn a lot, but my thought line is with Rob, where all the other villains on this list stand on their own, whereas I'd say Harley's not great, and comics that are just her aren't great, but like as a villain, she really only works well with Joker. Like Joker has to be involved in some way, so I have to say no.
Yeah. And Caleb, what would you have said about Harley Quinn?
Well, I like Margot Robbie. She's kind of been de-villainized a bit recently. So I'm gonna say no.
Can I make a point real quick?
Yeah.
If this was a list for top Batman characters or something, or most top Batman, most iconic Batman characters, she might be on the list. But like you guys said, that she would definitely, she's definitely works best part of the group. Like if you want to talk about Gotham City Sirens, she works amazing with Catwoman and Ivy. If her and Ivy are like the best together, I wish the Birds of Prey wasn't happening. I wish Gotham City Sirens was happening instead. They would print so much money as a result. But I kind of stand by, like, I know it's like already like done deal. She's not going to be on the list, but she's not a villain. She's an anti-hero, and she would never be a villain by herself, like you said. But she's not evil in any way.
Yeah.
She's mischievous, and she can be rude and conniving, but she's not evil in any way. I mean, she kicks people's asses that hurt dogs. So, I mean, she's great.
Yeah, I mean, I knew that she was going to be whispering me out, but I thought, well, they'll give it a shot, see what happens, and yeah. Alex, it's back to you for your next nomination.
I'm on the fence right now. How many do we have left?
2.
2.
Ooh, oh shit. Okay. Oh man. Damn. Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna go with a major a major one I feel like we just haven't talked about, and is Deathstroke. Deathstroke is not only an iconic villain, he's also one of the most not only just recognizable villains for Batman, but also he's like what, the world's top assassin. He can kill just about anything, and Batman's the one person he can't, so he is desperate to kill him. But he is by far, to me, he's one of the most dangerous because he's so money driven, and he's very self-reliant, and he doesn't need he can be hired by the Penguin, or he could be hired by the Joker or whatever, but at the same time, he can really kind of go anywhere, essentially, and he's very malleable that way. But at the same time, if he likes killing, he wants to kill Batman in particular for like almost pride, essentially. And I find that that's more dangerous as well, that he's really how he can really kind of be with any group, essentially. It's just badass.
So Deadpool's on the table. Oh wait, no, Deathstroke's on the table.
Let's say different universe.
But I'm gonna say yes to Deathstroke. Like, he's a really great villain. And even though it's not a Batman show, it's Arrow, but I do think Manu Bennett is one of my most favorite depictions of the character out there. And I'm not just saying that because Manu's a New Zealander. So, Robert, what do you say about Deathstroke?
Definitely. Whether it be the best boss fight in any of the 4 Arkham games and Arkham Origins, you all can fight me. The best boss fight in any of the Arkham games is Deathstroke in Origins. But whether it be Joe Manganiello in the one scene and one line of Justice League, all the way to Will Arnett in Teen Titans Go to the Movie, which, like, he's actually really funny as that character. He's actually really good.
Movie, but I love Deathstroke in that movie.
Yeah, he's really good in that movie. So yeah, you gotta go yes.
If you're watching this on replay, I'm introducing a drinking game. Drink every time Robert mentions the Arkham games.
I was literally about to say that, and every time I mention an animated series, to be fair, because I've mentioned that on, like, literally every single one.
Wait, it's to my short list, like, of honorable mentions.
Caleb, what would you have said about Deathstroke?
I personally would have said no. I don't find Deathstroke to be that cool. Like, he's a cool henchman, but he's just not a very interesting villain to me. So yeah, no.
And Matt, what would you have said about Deathstroke?
I would say yes. I love the character. It's just funny that my favorite depiction is the one where he's not even called Deathstroke. It's him in Teen Titans, the original animated series, where they call him Slade for some reason. I'm not sure why, but that's my favorite depiction of the character, where Batman isn't really involved. But I do love the character in the Arkham games, and I hope Joe Manganiello gets another chance to be even more than a post-credit scene, because he could be really good.
Yes,
he's a good actor. He could play that character well. Please. And the Injustice games as well. He's great. Please,
yeah, I mean, I believe in the Teen Titans show they called him Slade because something about kids shows not wanting the word deaf in the mentioned or something.
Yeah, I've heard that. Watch that show. There's a lot of dark shit in there, but if you say the word deaf, that's us kids in their 2000s wouldn't have been able to handle that shit.
Yeah.
Too intense for children. Natural in life.
But Matt, it's back to you. Can you close out the list?
Oh gosh, fuck, a lot of my picks are already on the list. Just one of these rankums. I'll throw this one on there. I'll throw another villainous in nomination. I'm gonna go with Poison Ivy. I think she's a great character in the animated series Tick Shot. And Uma Thurman's weird, but that's just going along with Batman. But really, in the comics and Gotham, but that animated series, she was great in. And I think out of all the villainesses, she's a really interesting character. We talked about her, before stream, how she identifies more with being a plant than she does a person, and so that sort of way she's looking at wanting to kill people. It's just like, well, it's just going to make the earth better for us plants, which is really interesting. So yeah, poison ivy.
But you, Robert, what do you say about poison ivy?
This one was like on the edge of my list, like probably my like 13 or 14. It was in my honorable mentions. Definitely highest of the villainesses. And yeah, I'm gonna say yes. I think she is great in the animated series. Uma Thurman, maybe not so much, but we'll talk about the Arkham games one last time. In Asylum, she's really good, and also she actually teams up with you in Arkham Knight, and that's really, really great. And you fight against her as Catwoman in Arkham City, so she's got good arcs there.
Right.
Yeah, I'm gotta say yes, Poison Ivy for the last spot. She deserves it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Poison Ivy is an interesting one because she does flip flop between being a villain and that quite a bit. I'm personally leaning towards no. Not just because I do think that like there's a few pure villains out there which I think should get the last spot. Then Poison Ivy.
Crazy.
Alex, what do you say about Poison Ivy?
I feel very similarly. Similar to how I feel about Harley Quinn. I don't feel like Poison Ivy is a villain. I feel like if anything, she's I feel like if anything, she is much more of an anti-hero. I mean, she does good things for a lot of people. She is just really, really intensely pro-environmentalist, which I can understand definitely to a certain extent, for sure. It is, and I did I like how you pointed out again that she identifies herself as Mother Earth, as more plant than human. So her taking on this extreme measure, towards, Batman and Gotham and just people in general, it's definitely understandable. But if I were to make her a villain she's definitely one of the most dangerous people in general in the world of well, as far as villains go. To me, she's definitely one of those villainous, I guess, anti-heroes we have. So for that alone, I would probably say yes. I just need her on the list for sure.
Yeah. And Caleb, like you've already told us in the chat what
Yeah.
you said, but
I'm back. Yeah, Ivy. Ivy makes a lot of sense. I think she's a very unique villain when it comes to Batman, and I really enjoy like her skill set. It's very different than literally any other villain. She's really smart and cunning, and I like her motivation a lot, especially in the animated series. So yeah, I say yes to Ivy.
You guys excited for the one coming up where she's voiced by Kaylee Cuoco? Wait, or is Kaylee Cuoco going to be voicing Harley?
She's voicing Harley.
What? She was Harley? Oh, my bad. Yeah, because I remember being super duper excited by that trailer way back when. So,
what movie is this one that's coming out? Because I know there was the Batman and Harley Quinn one where Harley was voiced by Melissa Bernadette from Big Bang Theory.
Maybe that was it. Let me just double check real quick.
But anyway, with Caleb's vote, we've gotten out 12. And now we get to the fun bit. But the 12 villains we've got Ventriloquist and Scarface, depending on sort of which way they want to put it. We've got the Riddler, we've got Scarecrow, we've got Joker, we've got Bane, we've got Mr. Freeze, we've got Clayface, we've got Two-Face, we've got Hush, Penguin, Deathstroke, and Poison Ivy.
It was Harley Quinn TV series. That's on.
Yeah,
that's coming out this fall. Sorry. On the
DC Universe.
Yeah, on the streaming show.
Sponsor us, DC Universe. We'll plug you. But
I'll definitely plug Malcolm. You know how good I plug things on Take 3.
But anyway, now we get to the fun bit of very. But now we get to the fun bit of very sort of vote for the order now. So if you've got a whiteboard, bit of paper, phone handy, then just write down who you want for the various for the number 12 spot.
Are we putting them in order now?
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
right, how we
so
put them in order is everyone writes. Yes. So everyone writes who they want for number 12, and then we sort of vote them that way.
Okay, so we're not talking about honorable mentions at all?
Oh, I mean, we can do that. Alex, what honorable mentions did you have?
Just a few of them. Everyone else, there's just a few of them I really enjoyed. One of them is Hugo Strange.
Yes, retweet.
I love Hugo Strange. In every iteration, I've always appreciated. I think he's a really great villain, intellectually, but also he's probably he is actively evil, which I think is a real big difference for us as there comes from our previous conversations. He is actively evil. He's a sociopath. He doesn't care about anyone. He's just curious and he wants to fuck with everyone, which I think is really great for a villain in this case. And also, I mean, he's just really creepy looking. I mean, he's a bald dude with these big ass glasses. Another one was Mad Hatter. I think he's I don't think he's particularly crazy, but I think he's definitely an interesting villain. He would he was my number 12 personally. And another one I really liked was Anarchy.
Yes.
Anarchy.
Yeah.
I'm going to point out the chat. Zadia Smith says in the chat, the greatest Batman villain is Zack Snyder.
Joel worse things for Batman than Zack Snyder did.
But Matt, what honorable mentions did you have?
The only one I really didn't get to talk about was Killer Croc, and who I think he's good. I wouldn't have been shocked if he didn't make top 12. And the Baby Doll, I really like her in the animated series. I think that's one of the all-time great endings to an episode. Is her first appearance on that show, but neither one of those was making the top 12 list.
Caleb, what honorable mentions did you have? Caleb, what honorable mentions did you have?
That is me. That is my name. Thank you. Hugo Strange was definitely on mine. I had Catwoman on mine, but I understand that she kind of toes the line between the two. Other than that, literally everyone else got on my list, so I'm okay.
Robert, what did you have?
That is my name.
Area. Victor Zsasz, Hugo Strange, Killer Croc, Black Mask, Catwoman, the Selena Kyle, not Patience Phillips, Professor Pig, Deadshot, Copperhead, Firefly, the Falcone Crime Family, Anarchy, Mad Hatter, Man Bat, and Joe Chill.
Oh, I forgot about Man Bat. Jesus.
Joe Chill's a goodie.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I also had Catwoman on there. I had Killer Croc, Mad Hatter, Man Bat. I even had Owlman on mine, the evil version of Batman from Earth 2, I believe. I had Professor Pig. I actually had Polka Dot Man on my list as just a random one.
Crazy cool.
Yeah, they're going to adapt him for the big screen with James Gunn directing him. He's supposed to be like one of the new villains, new characters for Suicide Squad 2.
Oh, yeah. I think I have heard about that.
Powers. I'm really interested to see what they're going to do. Yeah.
But anyway, Alex, who do you want at number 12?
I would probably have to say, looking through the list, I want to say Hush. No, scratch that. I want to say Penguin. Personally, yeah. I think he's probably not so much the least villainous, but at the same time, he's the less threatening. You know, when he's on screen, I never feel like Batman's at risk, Bruce Wayne or Batman. So, and therefore, I never take him as seriously, and he's just never in the conversation as far as like, what in Gotham is going to go wrong today? Must be Penguin. It's never him. He's who I talk to find out more information from. So.
Matt, who do you have for 12?
I have ventriloquist and Scarface. Tongue tie.
Caleb, who do you have for 12?
Ventriloquist and Scarface.
Robert, who do you have for 12?
Scarface.
I actually had Poison Ivy for me, but Ventriloquist and Scarface comes in at 12. Not going to bother trying to write out Ventriloquist. But now we're voting for 11. I'm sticking with Poison Ivy for number 11. Robert, who do you have for 11?
Poison Ivy.
Caleb, who do you have for 11?
Penguin.
Matt, who do you want for 11?
Poison Ivy.
And Alex, who
I had a ventriloquist, so it's moot point. Personally.
Yeah, you can at this point you can vote for whatever's left.
yeah.
Oh.
If you already gets
Okay.
picked, yeah.
But I mean,
No faith
It's still
in Poison Ivy. I do not understand. Me, honestly, Hush.
yeah. I mean, at this point, I was about to say at this point, it's more moot points. Most of us have Poison Ivy, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But now we're on to number 10. I actually remember I have to change my vote.
No, I'm so used to holding on to his votes until the end.
But yeah. But Alex, who do you want out of what's left? Who do you think should be to number 10?
I stand by it. In this case, it should be Hush.
Matt, who do you have for 10?
I said Penguin.
Caleb, who do you have for 10?
Yikes. Penguin.
What?
Penguin.
And I actually went Hush, but Penguin is going to be at number 10. I'm sure Chris Clark will send horrible things to us in the mail.
Probably. He'll probably.
Well,
send
probably
that,
not
like-
me, but because I didn't vote for Penguin. But
No, you know what? Even so, still, I'm not gonna be like, it's your show. We will get like Penguin like action figures. That will just be upset messages.
but anyway, we're voting on number 9, and I was sticking with Hush. Alex, are you sticking with Hush as well?
Hush.
Matt, who do you want for 9?
Hush.
Caleb, who do you want for 9?
Hush. I didn't write it down fast enough.
And Robert.
Yeah, 9 is a good place for Hush.
And we're all
Oh,
unanimous.
no, this is not.
Now
fun.
it gets
Oh no. Oh, this.
Are you like really distraught right now?
What? Yeah. What? Welcome to Rankum. This place sucks.
But yeah, I'm gonna go first on this. I've got Deathstroke. Robert, who do you have for 8?
Mr. Freeze.
Caleb, who do you have for 8?
Bane.
Matt, who do you have for 8?
Deathstroke.
And Alex, who do you have for 8?
Bane.
So
I have to change my pick, right?
yeah, Robert, Deathstroke, and Bane.
Deathstroke is below Bane for sure.
But now we're on to 7, and
Oh,
just to remind people who got left, got Riddler, Scarecrow, Joker, Mr. Freeze, Clayface, and Two-Face.
And Bane.
Yeah. But Robert, who do you want for 7?
Still Mr. Freeze.
Alex, who do you have for 7?
Clayface.
Matt, who do you have for 7?
Clayface.
And Caleb, who do you have for 7?
Bane.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a lot of hate, but I've got Two-Face, but Clayface is going to be 7. But anyway, we're
And I just want to make sure we have only Riddler, Scarecrow, Joker, Two-Face.
Bane and Freeze.
Oh, wait, I already had just and
Yeah.
Bane. Oh, got it. Okay.
but yeah, but I'm gonna kick this one off. I'm sticking with Two-Face. Robert, who do you have for 6?
Still Mr. Freeze. Haven't changed handwriting.
Caleb, who do you have for 6?
I switched to Scarecrow.
Matt, who do you have for 6?
Bitch, I finally picked Bane, Caleb.
Damn it, Hearns!
Alex, who do you have for 6?
The beautiful Shakespearean character of Mr. Freeze.
Shit.
And Mr. Freeze comes in at number 6. I was kind of hoping it wasn't going to be the awkward moment in which we all had a different person.
No, but the nice thing is, Malcolm, is Thaddeus is active in the chat, so at least we know someone would have been able to pick.
Yeah, but yeah, we're into top 5 territory, and this is definitely a good top 5 that we've got. But I'm sticking with Two-Face for the number 5 slot. Robert, who do you have for 5?
I do have Two-Face at number 5. Top 5 is
and
good for
Caleb, who do you have for
I went
5?
back to Bane.
Matt, who do you have for 5?
It's Caleb. Nah, I kept Bane.
I swear to God, Matt, don't do that to me.
I was just like,
Alex, who do you have for 5?
Two-Face.
I blame you, Malcolm, not them.
You know what would be really awesome and hilarious if Joker was on number 1? Just saying. Hypothetically, if we were in an alternate universe where he was a number 1, just saying. That'd be interesting.
I mean, we've had shocking things happen before on Rankum shows where we've had a possible potential.
Dark Knight almost didn't make our DC movies list.
Dark Knight almost didn't make the DC movies list.
we brought it up so late.
But for number 4, I've got Bane.
Bane
And
for me as well.
Caleb,
Bane.
Matt,
Bane.
Alex,
Scarecrow.
Bane is going to be 4. But we're into the top 3, which is Scarecrow, Riddler, and Joker. And Alex, who do you have for number 3?
Sticking to it. Scarecrow.
Matt, who do you have for number 3?
Scarecrow.
Caleb,
Scarecrow.
Robert,
I drew a Riddler trophy.
and yeah, I've also got Scarecrow. So yeah, It's to the surprise of probably no one at all. We're down to the final two, which is Riddler and Joker. So instead of voting for who we want to be number 2, we're voting for number 1. Because the other one will automatically become number 2 anyway. Alex, who do you want to be number 1 on the list?
That'd be Mr. J.
And Matt, who do you have for number 1?
Joker.
Caleb, who do you have for number 1?
Riddler.
You're crazy.
Damn
Robert,
it!
who do you have for number 1?
I also had Mr. J, Jason Todd. But no, it's Joker.
Can I choose Riddler?
Joker.
I mean, the Joker is going to be number 1, but
Regardless if you change or not.
but I also had the Riddler.
It's Joker.
Just because I actually do like the Riddler slightly more than I like the Joker.
Riddler's my personal favorite. I knew Joker was gonna be number 1 anyway, so I was like, "Fuck it, I'll go for Riddler."
You know, that's called being a hipster. People don't like that.
But,
Hey, Robert, you're the literal definition of a hipster in the multiplex.
Are
chat.
you
No
kidding
way.
me?
but I mean, to
Well,
the surprise of no one, Joker is going to be number 1. And just to recap the top 12 list, at number 12, we've got Ventriloquist and Scarface. At number 11, we've got Poison Ivy. At number 10, we've got Penguin. At number 9, we've got Hush. At number 8, we've got Deathstroke. At number 7, we've got Clayface. At number 6, we've got Mr. Freeze. At number 5, we've got Two-Face. At number 4, we've got Bane. At number 3, we've got Scarecrow. At number 2, we've got Riddler. And number 1, we've got Joker. This is definitely was a very fun list, and I don't think no one can really complain about it. Caleb's got to go, so Caleb, where can people find you online?
You can find me over on Multiplex Entertainment. I host Random Fight. I host the After Show. I host a bunch of other things. So yeah, if you want to see me, Multiplex Entertainment, I live there. But yeah, this was great. See you guys.
This just in, Caleb lives in the internet. But Alex, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at the Call to Action Podcast. Check us out there. I run it. If you're messaging them on Twitter, you're messaging me, so heads up. But also we run a Call to Action Podcast channel as well. And so we talk all things Schmodown, fan theories, matches, reactions, interviews here and there. So a lot of good things happen, and we have some things lined up.
But yeah, Matt, where can people find you online?
You guys, as always, can find me at Kearns_Matthew on Twitter, MattMovies611 on YouTube, and right here as host of 2 shows. Second Look, the Moneyball episode will definitely be coming out this week. I had some personal stuff that got in the way of it not coming out this week. And Rhyme and Reason, it still is a show. No, it is. It's just Sandy and me. Timing has not been good, but it will hopefully be coming back sooner rather than later. And I guess, according to Zadius, I host this show now, Malcolm. So get out next week. We're doing top 10 Kurt Russell hairdos.
Seriously?
No.
Yeah.
No. I'm just keeping the show. Abe tried to take it off me last week, but he didn't. He did.
He was too lazy.
But Robert, where can people find you online?
You can find me personally on Twitter and Letterboxd at RBRTPRKR98. That is my first and last name of vowels plus a year. And then, of course, you can find me pretty much all over the Fan League space, all over the Take 3 space, between Full Metal Trivia, Multiplex Entertainment, Full Metal Geek. I have a couple champs at Multiplex for Fandom Fights and Full Metal Geek. And, of course, if you have any death threats to send about the list that we made today, you can, of course, send them to @MultiplexYT or @CalebCoho on Twitter.
But and you can find me hosting this every week. I'll have a new poll up on the Tape 3 page in a bit with the 5 options for next week that you can vote on. You can find me on hosting Full Metal Random every week on the Full Metal trivia match. This week is going to be a really interesting match. I was forced into doing a match based on the great classic movie The Room, but I paired it with The Disaster Artist just so I didn't have to watch The Rooms so much.
Bless your heart, Malcolm.
But you can also find me competing in trivia all over the place on Formula Trivia Multiplex. Matt's my partner for Fandom Teams. I've got my partner Manning on the Warzone teams. So, and until next week, keep listing stuff. And we're out.